Hello. Given my interest in Dr. Ambedkar, given my love for him, and given my brief interaction with the great Ambedkarites, because you see, by accident, I was at the age of 17. At the age of 17, I was the president of the India Student Union at the London School of Economics, where Dr. Ambedkar received his second doctorate in monetary theory. He had already got a doctorate from Columbia University, where he had studied. He had been sent there on a scholarship. If he'd got a degree, that was enough. He worked so hard that he got MA, PhD. And his research work, his original research work, was of such high quality. British government itself was using it. You see, Ambedkar was not token bloody employed in any bloody capacity. He received a scholarship. Yes, but from whom? A Maharaja. But why would Maharajas give scholarship to a Mahar, a Dalit, a so-called Dalit? Answer is because Maharajas, Rajas, rulers, from time immemorial, they want to break down trade union type caste associations, and they want to promote on the basis of merit. And this guy, Gaikwad, that too a Gaikwad, he wanted military secretary to reorganize his military, cut the fat, and make a fighting force, because he was a nationalist. Gaikwad of Baroda. What do you think he was? He was a Maratha. And what was the precedent for educating Ambedkar and then bringing him as military secretary? What was the precedent? You see, under the British, of course, they had defeated Marathas, but they knew you can't ever defeat Marathas. Because you see, the problem with Marathas is that they represent even. I'm a Tamil. I come from Tanjore, but we had a Tanjore Maratha king. So what? We didn't give a damn. He's from Maharashtra or from here or from there, because he was, not destroying us. He was not eating us up. He was not converting us. He was maintaining our respect. And he was, you see, Tanjore he was considered prosperous. And it's a fact that when Baroda started to go on the path of reform, it started to turn into a dynamo for Gujarat, for that part of the world. How did it happen? Who did it? Was it Mahatma Gandhi? No. It was a person from Tanjore. Yes, he was a Maratha. He was also of that lineage, or whatever it may be called. But he was from South India, from Tamil Nadu. And in Tamil Nadu, we will tell you on your face. And we will not tolerate all this nonsense and rubbish. And when this guy came up to Baroda, he curbed the power of the tehsildars and the feudal aristocracy. And they didn't like it. But they couldn't really complain that much because he was also of their, their similar aristocracy, or you know, he's the Rajnikant. He was the Rajnikant. We can say we exported Rajnikant, and Rajnikant, incarnation of Rajnikant of like he helped Baroda, but Baroda has now helped us. Let's be frank. Whichever part of India you are from, you were helped by every other part. And maybe, okay, I'm saying that because I'm Hindu. If I was a Muslim, maybe I would have a very different perspective. But let me, even if I study Islam for 100 years, I can't, and I love it. It's fantastic. I'll never say anything against Judaism or Islam or other religion, because through the internet now I can see the great saints of theirs. I can read what they say. Oh my God, it's beautiful. But I can't change the fact that my mummy, daddy were Hindu. But I can change the fact that they believed stupid nonsense. Anything to do with caste and gender discrimination and homophobia, fuck off. Because they themselves, they'll reject. They reject. They're old enough. We didn't like the homosexuality because we thought it was unnatural. It's not unnatural. It's not a fashion or a fad. It's something real. Vikram said. His mother, she was a High Court judge. But it was the scientists, we were reading books from 1970s onwards about ethology, and then later on about DNA science. Sperm competition is a good example of a book like that. It changes your perspective completely. Homosexuality is not a fashion and fad, and Nehru said, no, Indians don't do homosexuality. It came from the Turks. He says that a Frenchman. But of course the French say this is the English voice. We French don't do that. So this is all nonsense. Anyway, obviously I'm not trying to encourage you to commit homosexual acts against each other. I request you to refrain from doing so. More particularly because the vast majority of those who view my YouTube videos tend to be, under the age of 12. Because, they hope, young kids nowadays, they only go on the YouTube to find out what is Unida's lemma and how does it, will it help me crack IIT or whatever. And Unida's lemma, I should tell you, is see, if there is such a thing as identity, then there is such a thing as Unida's lemma. There is a notion that by looking at the properties of the part of something, that you get an idea of the whole thing. And this is a very old Jain idea. In Jainism, you have this idea. It goes back 3,000 years. It's a notion that if you know one thing, then you know all the predicates of that thing, and because its predicates link it with everything else, you know all things. So omniscience comes from knowing one thing. So this is, I think, the point that you might be making, if you're 12 years old. And the other thing is that if you're 12 years old, you probably aren't masturbating incessantly, because that happens when you're, like in my case, 13 or 14. So I could actually study stuff. Well, I didn't study stuff. I read things when I was 12. But ever since then, I've never bloody read anything because I'm tugging at myself too incessantly. That's not a good thing. It's a bad thing. Don't do it. And I have now forgotten the point of this. Oh yes, it's Anand Tentumble, who got an MBA from Ahmedabad. And by the time that I returned to India with a degree from the LSE, he's 20 years older than me. But he's as stupid as shit. Or 20, I mean, 12 years older than me. Well, he's as stupid as shit. He is handsome. He's married to the granddaughter of Ambedkar. But he's as stupid as shit, and he's in prison. Because why? Why is he in prison? The answer is that, you see, he was a technocrat, a degree in mechanical engineering. He got an MBA from Ahmedabad. He's around, he worked for Bharat Petroleum. He was around. He saw how things changed during the 80s and the 90s. But instead of analysing what was going on, apparently he did a PhD in something that he calls cybernetic modelling. But there is no such thing as cybernetic modelling. You can, you can use a computer, but it's not cybernetics. It's just stupid. There is such a thing as modelling, but most modelling is stupid. Cybernetic modelling is just, do nude modelling, Anand Tentumble. Show your dick, wave it around. Nude modelling is better. I myself am the new Mia Khalifa, as I've explained. And, this guy never admitted his own nudity. He's got zero brains. He had nothing to say. He knew nothing about management theory. He knew nothing about cybernetic modeling. He knew nothing about the petroleum industry. He was just a worthless piece of shit. But he was good looking. He was smart. He was married to Ambedkar's daughter. And anybody else would have said, okay, look, I take the Rajya Sabha job or I take the PSU job and then I'll do my best. And why not? He's got kids, I'm sure. Instead I suppose it was some bloody NGO, international NGO, which funded him to go into writing worthless nonsense. But what sort of nonsense did he go in for? Let's take a look. Let's take a look. See, firstly, he says, the incipient capitalist contradiction in the countryside began manifesting through the fault lines of caste at the hands of the culturally unsophisticated Shudra rich farmers wielding the baton of Brahmanism into the new genre of caste atrocity, starting with Kilven Mayani in Tamil Nadu in December 1968. This is shocking. Incipient capitalist contradiction. Is this man utterly? He wrote this in 2012. This is ignorant nonsense. You see, the very term incipient capitalist contradiction had been shown to be nonsense in the Indian context because there were markets in agricultural produce in the 19th century. Agriculture was already capitalist. Yes, there was a non-market element of agriculture, but it's not the case. I mean, I remember writing about this. It's not the case that the Dalits were marginalized when the market expanded, and let me tell you why. And this is something I've actually written about in my first novel, Whiskey's Secret. Let me tell you why. And let me start with a caricature. It's that, okay, the Dalits were getting good roti because of Jajmani. You know, the patron gives them good organic roti. And so they come and they work and they say, oh, we love you, our Jajman, our patron. And, you know, Jajman is in fact a religious term. Uh, but, you know, I remember hearing some nonsense that, okay, instead of giving organic flour, they're using white flour and they're giving chapatis. White flour chapatis, which are nutritionally less. Anyway, you know, I was interested. I said, okay, chalo, 1980, I think 1982 में मैंने कहा कि हाँ भाई, I'm very interested. I'm from LSE. ठीक है, I was loved by Ambedkar Society, by the Ambedkarites, not society. There was no Ambedkar Society. There was Barrister Kabar Garde, there was Jamri Saab. There were people who, you know, that I had put there when I was president of India, LSE India Society. I had done whatever was required to promote such a great man, greatest intellectual, Dr. Ambedkar. Of course I did. And they knew my parents and so on. So, and anyway, I look like, unlike Tentumble, I actually look Dalit. I'm dark skinned, you know, I got straight hair, and I was slim, and I was, you know, I wore very cheap glasses because I couldn't afford nice glasses, and I didn't have MBA from Ahmedabad, which is what he was getting at the time. So, you know, I saw for myself that this is all bloody nonsense and rubbish. There's no judgment system, and there was no, you know, Indian utopia where the Raja Saab is looking after everybody. Nobody was being looked after. It was all nonsense. It may have been, there may have been such things at certain points in time and in certain very delimited geographical areas, but it certainly didn't exist. You know, when I started going to places, and let me please tell you, what did work was that exactly the same things which help in every other community, which is geographical and occupational mobility, which is making money, you know, being smart, doing smart things. And, you know, there was absolutely no caste element to this because, you know, as I've described in other books, very often an educated Dalit landless caste in a particular area, they've done well. Not all of them, but some of them. Those who've done smart things, those, you know, who stuck with the program. And of course, you know, I like good food, and everybody assumes that I'm a vegetarian because actually vegetarian food is prestigious. I don't understand that, but it's a fact. Vegetarian food is assumed to be prestigious, and the fact that, for example, in Bihar, I would refuse a dairy product and like that. This was even giving me a little bit Jain or shaman credentials, so, you know. And people like feeding strangers, especially if they can't speak any language with any degree of countervailing authority. Now, a man who writes nonsense like this, incipient capitalist contradictions, And who says the culturally unsophisticated Shudra, who is basically saying Shudras are stupid as shit. And they wield the baton of Brahmanism, which means, but Brahmins don't wield the baton of Brahmanism. It basically is saying this is Dalit versus Shudra. That's what he's saying. And he's saying Shudras are stupid. If they were not stupid, they would not wield the baton of Brahmanism. But the fact is that if you are the landless laborers, they're going to beat you until you work for 100 rupees, 200 rupees a day. And that's exactly what's happening if you look at the farmers' movement right now. You see that these guys, it is desperately important for them to keep their migrant laborers earning 100 rupees, 200 rupees a day. 100 rupees with food, 200 rupees without food, which is worse. Which, look at your calorie intake. Who will do the rice transplantation? It's a migrant. But under COVID, what if Yogi Adityanath, what if he creates jobs for these guys so that they don't have to go to Punjab to earn 200? What 200? What, that's about 2 pounds. 2 pounds a day doing rice transplantation. And that's women. And then you have the story of Nodevi Kaur, her mum came from the landless workers organization created by the CPI, by the Communist Party. Good for them. Communists really did love Punjab. I remember them. I loved the old Punjabi communists. They were very decent people, but they failed. They failed completely, but some of them were killed by the Khalistanis, and they wouldn't even bother to kill some others who were because there's no real problem. It was all a question of adjustment. Adjustment तो कर लेंगे हाँ. So mother is still around, and I respect her. Her elder sister is doing PhD in Punjabi at Delhi University, and she's now in jail. And what's going on? Tentumble is also in jail. Okay, but what's going on? Answer is, the common denominator is that they are Dalit. But Dalit has to say, look, if we don't own land, then we are dissociated from the farmers' protest. And our protests have to concern raising life chances for us. And this is what didn't happen in Punjab. You had Kanshi Ram, he was like Tufan jaise ki, he was like a hurricane who came and he went and nothing happened. And you see the split between the Dalit and the left. You can still see that. For example, after Rohit Vemula hanged himself in Hyderabad University, and he condemned both Ambedkarite as well as left, and they split. But the reason they split was because issue of militant Islam, whether that should be included in this group or that group. And it could work. It could go either way. It could have been the Ambedkarite saying, no, we want the crazy Muslim nutters, or it could be the communists saying, no, we are crazy. We're more crazy than you, so we'll take them. It could have gone either way. But anyway, then they made a united front later on, and so after Rohit Vemula died, for a year, ABVP, the Bharatiya Janata Party, the Hindus, they were controlling that university for 1 year and they didn't do anything very wonderful. So then next year you had a united front and so on. So this is a united front. But that's fine if you're doing it on a campus where everybody is being paid by the government, where you're getting a stipend from the government, and where the level of instruction is shit. You know, the point about Rohit Vemula's suicide is that he was studying worthless shit. He knew it. Everybody knew it because he wasn't doing science, he was doing sociology of science, which is worthless. And what is Tentumble doing? He's not doing business, he's not doing management, he's not doing shit, he's doing worthless shit. And the question arises, and he literally, to say the incipient capitalist contradiction in the countryside, and to say that in 2012 shows that you're a fucking cretin, that you don't know Marxism, that Marxism moved on. You're ignorant, you're stupid, fuck off. And wielding the baton of Brahminism, oh my god, how fucking stupid are you stupid cunt. Tentumble made a fool of himself. And after having made a fool of himself, this is a guy, who's got an MBA from Ahmedabad in 1982 or 1983. This is a guy who, he's handsome, he's good looking, he's part of the upper class because and he must know where the bodies are buried. He must. I do. I haven't lived in fucking India since 1984. I do. How stupid do you have to be not to know where the bodies are buried? How stupid, how fucking worthless a cunt do you have to be not to know which cupboards contain skeletons? How useless do you have to be to regurgitate shite which, incipient capitalist contradiction? To use a term like that in 2012, you're worthless. So this is why he's in jail. It's because he doesn't know where the bodies are buried, or he's just useless, or he's been bought off, or, what is the fucking point to him? I don't get it. Wielding the baton of Brahmanism. Fucking guy. What baton of Brahmanism? According to him, if somebody punches you in the head, that is the baton of Brahmanism. Because uncultured Shudras can wield it. But everybody is a Shudra. Everybody. Putin is a Shudra. Trump is a Shudra. A rapist is a Shudra. Everybody is a Shudra. And they're all culturally unsophisticated because they're punching you in the head. So anytime anything bad happens to you, you can say, baton of Brahmanism has bitten me. What's the fucking point to that? This is paranoid nonsense. This is a guy who, he did science at high school. He got a degree in mechanical engineering. And he's writing shit like this. How stupid is he? And the answer is very, very fucking stupid indeed. And it is stupidity which gets you put in jail on ludicrous charges because you don't know where the bodies are buried, you don't know who to make a call to, you're shit. And he's a 70-year-old piece of shit guy. And he's so sad. He was a senior manager or something, or whatever, in some shite campaigner, but he needn't have been shy. And there is a lesson here for Dalits to learn. Don't be a fucking cunt. Be smart. Make money. Do smart things. Emigrate. Get the fuck out of India. It is a shithole of a jurisdiction where anybody can be arrested for anything, including you. You might be Dalit yourself, but you can be arrested under Anti-Dalit Atrocity Act or for Anti-Dowry Act or this act or that act. Get the fuck out of it. There is only one Dalit billionaire. But he isn't based in India, is he? But how can Dalits go up? Answer the same way as everybody else has gone up, by getting the fuck out of a shithole country. And, you've got to make sure that your transactions are not under the jurisdiction of Indian law, which is shit. Indian law is shit. Prashant Bhushan is right. But everybody knew that. And talking, but sure. You can be like Suraj Yingde. And you can talk some shit, and maybe you'll get a job with Ford Foundation, but maybe you won't. I don't think he will. Why? Because he's got a dick. So some lady is going to say, no, he was trying to stick his dick into me. And I said, no, do not stick your dick into me, because you have not priorly authorized the... So, basically, there is only one way forward, and that is get together and promote Dalit billionaires, Dalit this, Dalit that. Because so long as there is an information asymmetry, in other words, better than the rest of the market, who can be the winner? There's an arbitrage opportunity. Money will flow in. And this is the only way forward. It's not by saying, no, we must ally with Muslims to kill the Hindus. Hindus will kill you. They're the majority, 80%. It doesn't work. J.P. Mandal, he allied with the Muslims. He was Justice Minister of Jeddah. Then he had to run away. And his people they were killed when they ran away. So, don't be silly. And do promote the idea that I am the new Mia Khalifa. Mia Khalifa has given up porn. So I am the new Mia Khalifa. Haan ji, haan. I'm going to unbutton. You see, now, if you want to see more of that, you have to pay. And this is what I want to say to all my Dalit brothers and sisters. If you want to see more of my nipple, you have to pay. And if you see more, teri nanin yaad aa jayegi. It will blow your mind. Oh yes, Anand, fuck him. People should stay in jail for stupidity. This is a stupid man. He could have done so much more for his community, for his country, for himself, for his family. Instead, he talked and wrote, what the shite? Fuck the cunt.